Wrestling fans, are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble!
And now, please welcome at this time your hosts, Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau. You're listening to the next era of wrestling radio. This is WrestleRant Radio.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WrestleRant Radio for Thursday, October 10th, 2024. I'm Graham Jason Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great week so far. This past Tuesday, marking 11 years of WrestleRant Radio. If we still did the show on Tuesdays, it would mark exactly 11 years since I first started doing the show, but we moved the show to Thursdays in 2016, so we haven't been on Tuesdays in a long time. But my point is, to support the show, commemorate the occasion, buy the first ever WrestleRant shirt, available right now over at ProWrestlingTees.com/WrestleRant. Also available on WrestleRant.com. Just click on the store link. It'll take you right there as well. First design that we have up right now is a pretty cool one, if I do say so myself, so I do hope to have more designs coming at some point soon. So check out the first design, check it out, buy it to ProWrestlingTees.com/WrestleRant. New episodes of WrestleRant Radio available every single Thursday on WrestleRant.com, WrestleRantRadio.com, and all your usual podcast platforms. Rate the show, review the show, subscribe to the show. Never miss new episodes every single Thursday. Before we get going here with Mr. Marceau, I do want to give my quick picks for AEW WrestleDream this coming weekend. I did watch Title Tuesday on Tuesday night, obviously. That edition of Dynamite. It was not that good. I thought it was fine, but for a Title Tuesday quote-unquote edition of Dynamite, it sucked. I mean, compared to past years, there were almost no championship matches. AEW has more championship matches on an ordinary edition of Dynamite than they did on Tuesday. That might have been the most title-less edition of Dynamite I've seen all year, but they still called it Title Tuesday anyway. I don't know why they did that, but that's what it was. So, not a great show, and the build for WrestleDream overall really hasn't been that good. It's been kind of non-existent, to be honest with you. They've announced a shit ton of matches, including more matches to be announced on, I think, Rampage this coming week. The pay-per-view is on Saturday. So are they doing Collision on Friday? I have no fucking clue. But I will include my predictions for matches that have not yet been made official for anyone that gives a shit. I think they are officially announcing these matches either on Friday's Rampage or Collision or whatever the fuck it's going to be before the pay-per-view on Saturday. At least according to Wikipedia, these matches are on the card for the pay-per-view on Saturday night. But like I said, I don't think AEW's done a great job of making the show feel must-see by any means. I think it'll deliver as they usually do on pay-per-view, but this feels like the most, or rather the least appealing pay-per-view they've had on paper in quite some time. So let's get into it here. On the 0-hour pre-show, they announced this last week, Atlantis Jr. defending the Ring of Honor World Television Championship against Brian Cage. I honestly couldn't tell you who could possibly give a shit about this match. I'm sure it will be good, but I watch Ring of Honor Weekly. I'm one of 10 people that watches Ring of Honor Weekly. They did nothing to set this match up. Brian Cage has not been feuding with Atlantis Jr. They have had, to my recollection, no interaction on Ring of Honor TV, on AEW TV. This is completely fucking random. This feels like just a way to get a CMLL talent on an AEW pay-per-view, albeit on the pre-show. I'm sure it'll be a good match. I just don't really give a shit. So I got Atlantis Jr. going over, still the champ. On the main card, Mark Briscoe and Chris Jericho, speaking of Ring of Honor titles, they will be fighting for the Ring of Honor World Championship. I thought we were done in the Jericho Ring of Honor Vortex bullshit a few years ago. Apparently not. They're having a match on the show. As someone pointed out a few days ago, it is comical that Hook won that feud with Jericho back at All In by beating Jericho at All In to regain the FTW Championship that has thankfully since been retired. Hook won that feud, and he's not even on this fucking show. He's doing that storyline right now where he's going after whoever attacked his father, Taz, in the parking lot, which is good. But it is comical that he won the feud and he's not even on the next pay-per-view. But Jericho is. You know what I mean? Jericho's got to be featured. It's fucking dumb. I think Mark Briscoe wins here. The Acclaimed and MXM Collection, the former Maximum Male models from WWE. I think the Acclaimed win. I don't really know why this is even on the show. I think it will probably end up on the pre-show. I know why they're feuding. Like, it's been a fine feud. I don't really give a fuck about the Acclaimed at this point. Their shtick kind of feels cold to me. I like MXM Collection. I just don't really feel like this needs to be on the main card. Pre-show, maybe? Main card, no. But either way, I got Acclaimed going over. Hologram and the Beast Mortos in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Okay, I mean, I guess Hologram wins here. I know they've been having an on and off feud now for a few weeks. Not really these two necessarily, or it was more so Hologram and like Mortos and Dralistico and now Roosh, a 2 out of 3 falls match. Is that really necessary? I mean, again, if that's official, I just saw this on Wikipedia, so maybe it's not real, but I'm assuming it is. But I got Hologram extending their undefeated streak with a win here. Darby Allin and Brody King. Darby Allin issued an open challenge for WrestleDream about a week or two ago that was issued, or rather accepted, by Brody King on Collision last week. They built towards the match with a talking segment, a verbal exchange on Wednesdays or Tuesdays Dynamite rather, and it was good. I think the match will be good. They have a lot of history. I don't really need to see this rivalry revisited. They already had a feud a couple of years ago. I guess the idea is that Darby Allin has never beaten Brody King by pinfall. Okay. Again, I don't really care about any of this, but I think Darby Allin wins. This just kind of feels like an excuse to get Darby Allin on the show in his home state. Jack Perry versus Katsuyori Shibata for the AEW TNT Championship. I got Perry going over, still champ. Adam Page and Jay White. You know, this is tough. Jay White just came back. I feel like he should win here, but Adam Page is also rolling after his win over Swerve Strickland at All Out. So I'm going to go Adam Page here. I think he picks up the win. Speaking of Swerve Strickland, he is advertised to return on this show. I think we will see him interact with MVP in Shelton and be attacked by Bobby Lashley. He'll turn down the services of the Hurt Syndicate, and Bobby Lashley will debut instead, attacking Swerve. That's my prediction. The Young Bucks will defend the AEW World Tag Team titles against familiar foes, Private Party. That should be a fun match. I would love to see Private Party walk away new champs. They really should. The Bucks have really done little to nothing as champions. They should really drop the belts here. I don't think they will. So I think the Bucks retain. Mariah May and Willow Nightingale for the AEW Women's World Championship. Mariah May just won the belt at All In. I don't think she loses it here. So a win for Mariah May. Will Ospreay, Ricochet, and Konosuke Takeshita for the AEW International Championship 3-way matchup. This is my most anticipated match on the show. The build has been well done. I thought the segment on Dynamite was good, with Ospreay finally being betrayed by Don Callis after so many fucking months. Long overdue there. I don't know who would win here, honestly. I think Takeshita winning would be awesome. And then Ospreay and Ricochet can do their own thing on their own without the championship on the line. Ospreay did just get the belt back at All In, yes, but I don't know if they're going to have an entire show without any title changes. And I guess they could do one in the main event, which I hope they fucking don't. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Takeshita wins. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Takeshita becomes the new AEW International Champion. That's my pick. And I feel like Jon Moxley is the odds-on favorite to walk out as the new AEW World Champion against Bryan Danielson. I would not do that. I think Moxley gains absolutely nothing from being the one to beat Danielson and end his active full-time career. I think that'd just be stupid. I think you can have Moxley lose here and still reveal who the great, mastermind is behind this whole angle that Moxley's been doing since he came back. The big person, pulling the strings and whatever. I mean, I really hope it's not fucking Shane McMahon. I've heard other ideas. Anyone but Shane, I think, would be better. Shane would just be fucking awful in that role. I don't need to see Shane on TV. I hope it's not Shane, and it's... Because I've seen reports from, Fightful and stuff saying, it's not going to be Shane, they've said. Well, I hope that's not just a fucking swerve and it will end up being Shane, because that would be awful. Maybe it was supposed to be Shane, and they changed course after seeing the backlash online from fans. I don't know, but I do think Bryan Danielson retains just because... Yeah, him having his last match in his home state would be great, but Moxley gains nothing. He's already been world champion 3 times before. I don't really need to see Moxley in that role again anytime soon. I'd rather just Danielson hold on to it before dropping it back to Swerve or Darby Allin at some point down the road. If he did it to Darby on this show, it would have been way too rushed and way too soon, but I think Moxley would be the wrong choice. So I'm going to go out on another limb and say Bryan Danielson retains the AEW World Championship to close out WrestleDream. And those are my thoughts on WrestleDream coming up on Saturday. I have some quick thoughts on the pay-per-view next week here on the show. But let's throw it to my conversation with Mr. Marceau to talk all things Bad Blood, Raw, NXT, and more importantly, the Mets, baby. LGM, Mr. Marceau, brother, what's going on?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm a Grimace guy, baby. They're moving on. I'm doing great now that the Mets have advanced. And I told you earlier, I mean, this is a statistical fact. I have proof of it. I was at a Mets game this year, so I feel like I may have been the good luck charm that helped them get them to where they are now.
So you went to a game, so that's why they've been better?
Well, me and Grimace. It's the G's. It's the Graham, the Grimace.
Yeah, I know the Grimace thing is known as a known thing. Like, since Grimace appeared, they've been, nasty.
Yeah, I think they've been doing especially better since I was at that game in late August. So I don't know. I just noticed a trend. I'm going to have to go to the World Series, dish out the same amount of money that people are paying to go to Bad Blood. But we'll see. We'll be talking about Bad Blood here in a moment. Raw, NXT from Tuesday, which I thought was a bit of a better show actually from last week. Lot to get into. But Bad Blood overall, Mr. Marceau, on Saturday night I thought was a good show. Not one of their best B shows all year. This was their first non-international B show. And I think about a year when they had Fastlane and Payback, I think back-to-back actually, in the fall of 2023. It's been about a year since their last B show here in the States. This was here in Atlanta. Not here, like I fucking live in Atlanta. Here in the States, in Atlanta. And they were a good crowd. So before we get into match-by-match here, your overall impressions of the pay-per-view.
That was a solid show. I mean, I think overall, I would say it was a good to I don't know if I say good to great. I would say overall it was a good show.
I think it was largely carried by the opener and the final matchup, the main event between Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and the Bloodline. The middle stuff was solid, nothing bad, but a lot of those matches could have happened on Raw. The Crown Jewel announcement, we'll get into it, not exactly. I've actually hated that announcement more and more as the days have progressed since that show, since they made that announcement at Bad Blood. We'll get into why in a little bit. But they did open the show, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, inside Hell in the Cell. And I've said this before, I think it's been the longest hiatus in between Hell in the Cell matches, I think ever, since they started doing the match back in 97, 27 years ago to the day. It's been about a year and a half since the last one. And this was the most heated, rivalry-fueled matchup they've had inside the Cell in a very long time. And I think a lot of people have said that it brought back memories of some of their favorite Cell matches from the early 2000s and the Ruthless Aggression era. We've had some great Cell matches over the years. I mean, one of the only 5-star matches in WWE history, per Meltzer anyway, and I obviously take his opinion for what it's worth, was Cody and Seth actually inside the Cell 2 years ago, and that was a great Cell match. This told a different story, but this was more brutal. This was far more bloody. Punk and Drew getting busted open, I believe hard way. But I mean, they promised blood, so not exactly a fan of like the getting busted open hard way shit. If Drew did get hit with the fucking toolbox, I'm not a big fan of that. That would have been stupid if they wanted him to get busted open via the toolbox. That was kind of dumb. But beyond that, though, I thought the match was great. Punk emerging victorious, putting this feud to rest finally, or this rivalry to rest after almost 9 months. Your thoughts in the match? Did it live up to expectations as being this grand Hell in the Cell blow-off that I thought should have headlined the show, but given what did close out the show, I'm not too surprised this opened. But your thoughts in the matchup?
Yeah, I thought it was great. Like you said, I think it was a totally different story than Cody and Seth. This was more like a grudge match, end all be all. Like, this is what kind of like Hell in a Cell should be, like the ending of a back and forth feud. I mean, it made sense. You said it had some brutal points, but I think it was needed. And I thought the right person won, and it was a great way to start the show.
Yeah, I think this will go down as one of their better matches all year in WWE. As one of the, I don't know if it's the match of the year, but it will go down as one of the matches of the year for WWE alone, I think, and definitely deserves an honorable mention as far as best Cell matches. Maybe not of all time. There's been a lot of great ones in the last 15 years for sure. I would say it's high up on that list. Great stuff, though. Punk was on Raw the next night, saying that he will be gone for a little while. I thought it was great, by the way, that they saw the effects of the Cell. Punk limping to the back, collapsing at one point. He was on Raw the next night looking worse for wear and just like complete shit after being inside the Cell 2 nights earlier. And he said that he won't be around for now. He does not know what's next for him, but obviously we saw him interact with Rollins as Rollins made his way to the ring on Raw on Monday night. So I don't think that's what's next for him, but I think that's the ultimate direction they're headed in with Punk, is at WrestleMania, probably with Rollins, and not over the World Heavyweight Championship. They would have to take the belt off of Gunther before then, put it on Punk or Rollins. They could. I don't think they will, but it's possible. So that leaves the question of what is next for CM Punk In the meantime, I saw the report, Punk not expected for Crown Jewel. Well, no shit. I mean, if there's no match that makes sense for him on that show, he's not going to be on that show. He'll probably be back after that. And I think it's pretty likely that we could see him resurface after Crown Jewel to kick off a feud with Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship at Survivor Series, which was reportedly the plan as of like a month or two ago. So, your thoughts on where Punk should go from here, and if you see the ultimate Mania destination being with Seth Rollins, as we talked about before.
Yeah, I think the end-all be-all is him and Rollins at WrestleMania. What's next for him? Like you said, I think it'd probably be Gunther. I mean, I feel like you could even hold him out to the Rumble time. I mean, I don't think it's totally necessary to come back, but I do think he has a stake to face or a claim to face Gunther coming up. So I think that makes sense going to Survivor Series. But I think the road ends with him and Rollins, not for the title at Mania.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different directions they can go in with Punk. Drew, I'm not so sure on, though. You look at the Raw roster, him and Gunther have had a feud before, and they're both heels anyway. Rollins been there, done that. Sami Zayn, I guess they can rekindle that. They had a feud going late last year, earlier this year. They never really finished that feud, so that's possible they could revisit that rivalry. Beyond that, though, I'm not really sure what you do with Drew, aside from maybe shipping him to SmackDown at some point. I think having him take time off for now would be what's best. They don't really need him on Raw in the meantime. But I think maybe shipping him off to SmackDown where we can get some fresh feuds with a guy like Cody Rhodes before WrestleMania or something like that might make the most sense, because otherwise I'm not really sure what else you do with them in the meantime. Is there any obvious direction that comes to mind for you as far as Drew in the coming months on Raw?
Not particularly. I think I like your idea of saying have him take off some time and be off TV for a little bit. I think for him specifically it would be nice. SmackDown, they said there are a lot more fresher faces. Not sure exactly how you get there, but I mean, even him and LA Knight would be nice if he's still holding the belt. But I think in the immediate future, I'd keep him off TV for a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like that would make the most sense for sure. Nia Jax and Bayley, WWE Women's Championship rematch from SummerSlam. Another well-wrestled match. Nothing really, anything out of the ordinary. That Hurricane Rana spot or whatever it was supposed to be. With Nia, she was supposed to hit a Hurricane Rana because she was up on the turnbuckle. Bayley was underneath her. And Bayley sold for it, but I mean, Nia is obviously a lot bigger than Bayley is, so it's very difficult to hit, so props to her for attempting it. Just didn't look great, so I appreciate the effort, but it looked like shit. The overall match was fine, though. Nia did win again, a lot like at SummerSlam, with interference from Tiffany Stratton, who had teased cashing in. Ultimately, she did not. I'm honestly kind of surprised Naomi didn't attempt to help. We know she was fucking there. She was one of the hosts of the show with Bianca and Jade. I guess she didn't want to bother getting involved and helping out her friend, I guess. Maybe we'll find out the fallout from that on SmackDown, but standard stuff here, a lot of the same stuff that we saw at SummerSlam. Obvious result, the most predictable match in the show, but I would argue what it needed to be before Bayley moves on to something else and Nia moves on to her next challenger. So, I mean, this is, like I said, pretty standard fare here in the WWE Women's Championship match. What were your thoughts, Mr. Marceau?
Yeah, I thought it was decent. I mean, it wasn't the greatest match of all time, but I think the right outcome. Interested to see what they do with Nia next. I mean, I guess, like I said, maybe Naomi, but I wouldn't say she's like the greatest challenger coming up next. But I think Nia.
It's confusing,
at this point. But I think the right person won, and I mean, we'll see what happens here. I feel like the cash and teases will continue, and I mean, I think the belt will be on Tiffany sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that was my next question as far as when you see the cash-in happening. I mean, I don't see it happening. If they were going to do it within the next couple of weeks, then why not just do it at Bad Blood? Maybe within a month or two. Do you think it happens before the end of the year, or do you think they wait until closer to WrestleMania?
I would say, I mean, I feel like she could win the belt, and then they set up for her as champion facing someone at Mania, I would say.
I mean, I think that idea is great, and I think I would take it one step further. Whether people want to hear this or not, I think that person could be Charlotte Flair, challenging Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah, no, I think that as well. She hasn't been, I mean, I figured she'd be back by now.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Yeah.
And Charlotte winning.
Yeah, exactly.
Prepare for the inevitable, but, yeah, no, I think that would be a perfect Mania match, though. Tiffany and Charlotte, and if they do Bianca and Jade as well, that would also make sense one-on-one. So before they got to the next match, or actually, no, we had the next match here. I'll get to the announcement in a moment. Damian Priest and Balor, again, pretty standard match here. It was a good match. Kind of felt like something you would just see on Raw. Damian Priest winning, even with interference from JD McDonough and Carlito. Balor still falls short. I mean, this has been the story of his entire main roster career, and I wasn't upset by the outcome. I kind of figured Priest might win. I thought Balor would win. That was my pick. But Priest winning, he's over as a babyface right now, and I think someone else put it best on Twitter. I forgot who it was, but I saw this tweet a few days ago, and they said it's not even really worth getting bothered about anymore as far as Balor losing these big matches, because they clearly, whether it be the Vince era or the Triple H era, it doesn't even really matter. I mean, they've used him better in the Triple H era as part of Judgment Day, but he will always be a stepping stone for the bigger stars on their way up. Now being Damian Priest, I think at this point Damian Priest has a much bigger upside than someone like Balor does. And Balor is great, don't get me wrong. And I think him getting a significant push would be fun and would be fine. But I think Priest is the guy they really want to focus on, which is why they put him over here. I'm sure the feud will continue, but I feel like this just kind of solidified Balor's slot as being a stepping stone guy in the Raw roster. Would you agree with that? What were your thoughts on the match?
I mean, I think we both had Balor going here. I mean, I guess we think something of Finn that they don't, but
yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like I thought he would win here just to kind of continue it going. I mean, I guess you could still continue it, but I feel like Balor could probably use the win to kind of like pump him up a little bit. I feel like he's kind of just been getting crushed by Damian and Rhea at every turn, so I figured giving him the win here, even if it was interference with Big Donna and Carlito, at least it'd give him some kind of fluff, but no, he lost here. They had the interference and still wasn't good enough. So I guess they just see him as like you said, like a stepping stone B-plus player. Not like he's the youngest guy anyway, so it's not like he should be the one pushing. I think I see it here. He's 43. Not like Priest is a spring chicken either.
Yeah.
I know he's older as well, but I think they see the money in the future with Priest more than Balor, just the size. And I feel like once they turned him babyface, has kind of been someone that you would see them pushing. So a little surprised by the outcome, but I guess they kind of just, we know where they see Balor, and that's where we'll go from here.
I think B-plus player is the best way to put it as far as how they see Finn Balor, the same way they described, Kofi Kingston back in the day. Obviously, Daniel Bryan way even before that, back in 2013. So, yeah, no, I think that's just kind of how they've always seen Balor in the main roster, and I don't think that's going to change. If Triple H was in charge in 2016 when he got called up, then yes, I could have seen him having a much brighter future in the main roster. But the fact of the matter is he wasn't, and by the time he did take over, it was kind of too late. So if they want to put all their eggs in the Balor or the Damian Priest basket, rather, that's fine with me. The question for me, though, is I guess if Priest won here decisively, didn't even cheat to win, didn't have Rhea interfere or whatever, he won decisively, even with interference from the heels. That tells me this feud is on life support. I mean, Rhea and Liv will continue, we know that, at least for a little longer. But with Balor and Priest, I don't know if I was ever of this idea, but some people thought, sometimes they kick off their year-long stories at SummerSlam for Mania. So like when Dominic turned on Rey, they kept that going till Mania. They did separate them. Same thing with Jimmy and Jay last year. They separated those two as well. They didn't separate Priest and Balor. They went right to the match within 2 months, and Priest already gave Balor his comeuppance. So that doesn't tell me, not only are they not expanding this till Mania, which is fine by me. I don't know how much longer they can go into it anyway, how much farther they could go with this. But it seems like they might be ending this in the next month. I could see them having a Raw rematch and having Priest go over in like a fucking street fight. I don't know if Balor will ever beat Priest in this feud. I think they just might move on, which is fine. But if they do, I'm not honestly really sure what you do with Priest. I mentioned Drew's potential feuds. I mean, Priest is he's an option now that he's the top babyface on the show, but we've seen Drew and Priest a couple times, including at Clash of the Castle earlier this year. So I'm not really sure that's a, great feud either. I guess they could use that as a filler feud. I don't know, but yeah, it seems like this feud's on life support. It might be ending on the sooner side. Do you see that as well?
Yeah, I think life support's an understatement. Like I said, I think it's gonna. I mean, I think Priest wins again, maybe some kind of stip match, and then we move on. Not that I think it really needs to be dragged on much longer. Like I said, he's already got his comeuppance. No need to drag it on any further. So I would just do it again. Priest wins again, and we move on.
Yeah, that's probably what I would do as well. Like I said, Rhea and Liv are kind of in a similar spot. We'll talk about that match next. We'll get to the Crown Jewel announcement in a second. We're just talking about Judgment Day, so I figured we could talk about this next. The match was fine. I liked the SummerSlam match more. This had its moments, like Liv hitting a code breaker off the top rope to Rhea was pretty fucking cool. And then Rhea, I don't know. So, I thought it was cool. Liv going for the Oblivion, and then Rhea, sliding out of it. I don't know if that's the best way to put it, but, she, countered it, landed on her feet. Some people thought it was shitty. I thought it was cool. The overall match was good. It just didn't really have a lot of heat. Like, the crowd was honestly kind of quiet, a lot quieter than I thought they would be, considering how over these two women are and how hot their feud has been for the last number of months. But it was fine. The finish sucked, or at least the execution of it sucked. They've obviously fucked up. I mean, I don't think Raquel should have... I don't know, man. I mean, I think the bell already rang.
I will say, it's one of those things you don't really know who was really at fault, but...
Yeah. I mean, but I don't remember. Did the bell ring before Raquel put Liv on top of Rhea, or did the bell ring afterward? I don't remember. Because if the bell rang afterward, then I get it. But if it didn't, then that's... If the bell rang and then she fucking heard that and still went for it, like, must do this spot that I rehearsed, like a fucking robot, and then she put Liv on top of Rhea, I mean, you should have just ad-libbed at that point and not put her on top. It just looks stupid.
I just think it was clearly messed up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really remember exactly what happened. I could have sworn the bell... I don't even know if the bell even rang, honestly. I mean, I don't know who was at fault. I would assume the referee was at fault. I think he didn't get in spot. I think what was supposed to happen is he was supposed to go over and basically help Dominic out when Rhea was beating the shit out of him. And then Raquel comes out, attacks Rhea, throws in the ring, Liv pins her, and the referee realizes it. He was just way too late, and Raquel was already out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It looked like I said, I think the ref was not in the right position at the right time, because I think she was supposed to come out and attack Rhea, but, like, it happened, and, like, he was there, and, like, it was clunky, and definitely not right. I mean, terrible. It's funny how bad it looked.
Yeah.
Terrible, just, like, execution, but, I mean, I think the referee was in fault, so, not like she could really do much, but it looked terrible.
Yeah, I don't know if it was even her fault necessarily, but yeah, it just looked bad. But, you know, I hate that happened because it overshadowed I mean, I don't know if it would have been a major moment, but we talked about it last week, I think. I'm happy that Raquel is back. I thought it was cool that they put her with Liv and Dom, as many people thought they would, because obviously the connection with Liv, they're former tag team champions together. She also has mutual hatred for Rhea Ripley. That is honestly the perfect role for Raquel Rodriguez on this show. If they brought her back as a babyface to feud with Liv, which they could always do down the road if they want to go to the Dakota Kai Raquel Rodriguez route from a couple years ago in NXT, that would make the most sense. Raquel on her own, I like Raquel. She's good. She's improved a lot. But on the main roster, she's been so fucking bland and boring. This is definitely the perfect role for her, I think.
No, yeah, I think her as a heel is the better role. Her with someone like Liv, I think, is also a good part of the role, just because, like, she's with someone that's over and she doesn't have to be, like, the spotlight. Her just doing, like, flexing her back muscles, I don't really need to see. I don't really see that right now, so I'm glad that she's going to be on with Liv and maybe, like, help pump her up. I think the biggest problem with her as a heel by herself, she just was, like, she was a babyface, but just wasn't really that interesting. So as a heel, I think she can maybe get out of her shell a little bit.
Hopefully she stops doing that dumbass back thing. I mean, that has been so stupid. I mean, we've made fun of it for a long time now. She continues to do it. I mean, she just returned, so I don't know if she's still doing it like that. I know they taped Raw for next week, this past week, so maybe she'll do it on Raw this coming week. I don't know. I honestly don't even want to find out, because it is so fucking dumb. And are we supposed to be impressed by it? Like, we've joked about it before, but I'm still stumped as to why she still does it. So hopefully she ditches that shit, and the Liv pairing allows her to show more personality and kind of get her back on the right track in like a China-esque role. So I like that a lot. The Crown Jewel announcement. So Triple H was in the ring with a belt under wraps, basically, and he unveiled it to be the Crown Jewel Championship. So yet another fucking title like it's AEW. But this one will not be actively defended. It will simply be a championship on the line for the men and the women at Crown Jewel every year, where they do the men's world champions against each other and the women's world champions against each other. So basically, for anyone wondering, it is exactly what you're probably thinking. It's the Survivor Series stakes from a few years ago at Survivor Series with Raw versus SmackDown, except we get a fucking pointless belt out of it. Not a draft pick, not a Rumble spot, which, you know, I understand it's kind of hard to determine that sort of stuff 6 months out anyway, but I don't know, like, who gives a shit? Why even do it at all? Like, I just think this is dumb. It's obviously a gimmick for Crown Jewel to make the show mean more. I assume it was a Saudi idea. This doesn't really, I mean, they didn't do it last year. I mean, obviously Roman was still champion last year, so they didn't want to have Roman, and we would have gotten Roman and Rollins last year, but Roman was not losing to fucking Seth Rollins again, so, Yeah, I'm just not a fan of this. I think this is just silly because we get Cody and Gunther out of it, which is cool. I like that we're getting it, but I hate that they're wasting it on this. I mean, neither guy should be losing. Worse than that, we're getting Nia and Liv Morgan, 2 heels, and not even that, the match isn't overly interesting. I think Liv might have been the last person to pin Nia one-on-one on Raw earlier this year, so there is that. But beyond that, I don't really give a shit. The build, you have to have Cody on Raw and Gunther on SmackDown to build towards it. Just kind of muddies the brand split stuff even more, which doesn't even exist at this point. I realize that, but I don't know, man. I'm just not really a fan of this. So before I get to the rest of this segment, your thoughts on this whole crown jewel thing and the problem it kind of, the risk that you run by doing champion versus champion on a show like this.
I was going to say, a bunch of tears. God, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Yeah, I saw a lot of people, I guess like yourself, crying on Twitter about it. I mean,
raise his hand.
I don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, the show's clearly like it's like they're getting paid to come here. It's just like a throwaway title. Like you said, it's not like it's going to be defended. I mean, I guess it kind of muddies the water if it's going to be champion versus champion every year. But I mean, I don't think it's really that big of a deal. I guess it is in a sense, depending on like how you're setting it up. Could be a match you want to put at Mania, but like I guess if it's going to be a reoccurring thing, I guess you could just make it so it's not really that big of a deal because like, it's not like Cody and Gunther. It's not like that's going to be our main event WrestleMania match, and neither is Nia and Liv. So it is what it is. But I mean, I think it's stupid, but I'm not like it's for the show that they're getting paid a shit ton of money for. If they want it, like go for it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not to say that Cody and Gunther will be buried by the other if they lose. They'll be totally fine. I just don't think it's necessary to have either guy lose at this point. I don't know. At least it's a match we haven't seen before. With Liv and Nia, I don't give a shit at all. But with Cody and Gunther, at least it's a match that's appealing, so I will give it that. Now, when they had this segment, Gunther came out to talk about why he's going to win it, and Triple H presented him with the King of the Ring crown in Saudi Arabia. You're going to do the same thing with this championship in Saudi Arabia, blah, blah, blah. And then he ran down, he mentioned all the legends in attendance, and then he specifically, catered to Goldberg, who was sitting in the front row, who he called his favorite wrestler on Raw, jokingly, a couple of weeks ago.
Favorite wrestler.
He said he was his favorite wrestler, and then he said, I lied. And then he made a couple cracks at Goldberg, saying to Gage, his son, the pudgy fucking 10-year-old from 8 years ago at this point, that appeared on Raw. He's a college athlete now. He's in much better shape, obviously. He looks like a fucking beast. But I think he's a football player, actually kind of following in his father's footsteps. But Gunther said to Gage, to Goldberg's son, I hope your father is a better father than he was a wrestler, which pissed off Goldberg enough. Which was a great fucking line. I popped big on that one. And whatever he said before that, I don't remember. But whatever he said to Goldberg was fucking funny. Goldberg was bothered enough by this that he jumped the barricade, and they had all the security goons run to ringside and whatever. And they fended off Goldberg, and Gunther got attacked by Sammy to build towards the world title match on Raw, and Gunther, did not, or rather Goldberg, I get the two confused, it's too similar, but Goldberg did not get involved in the Raw main event on Monday night for the World Heavyweight title, so for anyone wondering, could they do that, would they do it, should they do it, they did not, thankfully. But this would lead you to believe that we're getting Gunther and Goldberg at some point. Before I talk about it myself, Mr. Marceau, your initial reaction to this segment, and are they setting up a match between Gunther and Goldberg, and do you want to see it?
I mean, I died laughing when he ran down Goldberg. I thought it was necessary. I loved it. Definitely don't want to see the match, so I hope it's not setting anything up. I mean, I think when do they go to Saudi next? Maybe they need a match there. I don't even know what that Saudi preview would be. Not Crown Jewel.
They did King and Queen of the Ring there this past year, so probably that, yeah.
I mean, I guess like maybe we could get Gunther versus Goldberg. Not that I want this, but like the next Saudi show. I don't know, but I hope not. I thought the segment itself was funny. I hope it doesn't lead to anything. It probably will lead to something.
Yep.
But yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I actually don't mind this. And I sound like a big fucking hypocrite, as I've said before.
What a fucking hypocrite.
Goldberg,
hypocrite.
I don't need Goldberg in a title match. I don't need Goldberg to wrestle again. All of which are true. Select D for all the above. All of that is true. But Goldberg continues to cry and complain, and to an extent I get it. To another extent, it's like, all right, buddy, just shut up about it. About not getting that one final match, which arguably he did. It just, I think it's that it wasn't the last match that he wanted. He said he had COVID a couple weeks before that. He didn't love the match. It was the match that he had with Roman in Saudi Arabia.
Who did he face?
Yeah, exactly. No one remembers it, but it was at Elimination Chamber 2022. He faced Roman. Obviously, the match they were supposed to do at Mania 36. COVID happened. Match got canceled. Roman went home. Match never happened. They did end up doing it before Mania 38, but that was when like the whole Brock Roman shit was going on, so Goldberg was not going to fucking win. He didn't. He shouldn't have anyway. Roman's big year, 2-year title run ending via Goldberg would have been terrible. But yeah, listen, they've done dumber stuff with Goldberg before, so I wouldn't have put it past them.
Like
but what? Don't bring up Hell in a Cell 29. That wasn't Goldberg. That was The Fiend. But Super Showdown 2020. Survivor Series 2016 was pretty dumb. The Taker match was awful. May I go on? I don't know. There's a whole long list of matches. I say all of this, and I still want Goldberg back in the ring. So, I mean, again, I don't know why I say that. But when I say that, though, what I'm saying is if they are going to give this guy one more match, so he'll just shut the fuck up. Because Triple H, to me, seems like, I'll give you what you want if it makes sense. Like, it seems like we're in the era of, I'm going to make good on the broken promises of the Vince McMahon era. And obviously, he hasn't given Goldberg a one more match yet, and Triple H has been in charge now for almost 2-3 years at this point. But, I mean, I don't know why it would have happened sooner, but I don't know. I just feel like the Roman match would have been a fine way to go out. He wants one more match. He shouldn't win, obviously. If it's booked as a 5-minute sprint on Saturday night's main event, I mean, the Saudi show is another 7 months. I don't want this looming over Gunther until then. But if they can do it in December, maybe Goldberg costs Gunther the match in Saudi Arabia. I mean, I don't want to see that necessarily either, but that would prevent him from eating a clean loss. That could be where they're going with this. I think Gunther could be a fine final opponent for Goldberg. If not, Braun Breaker just going out there and destroying him too. That would have been that would also be cool in my book.
Okay. I mean, like you said, if it's a sprint, like is Gunther just going to beat him in 5 minutes? I don't know.
Don't do a 20-minute match. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think I like the Braun idea better.
I think Braun would benefit more. I've always said that. I think Braun would benefit more than probably anyone by beating Goldberg at this point, for whatever that's worth.
No, yeah. I mean, I agree. I think Braun beating him is better than Gunther beating him. So I think, like you said, maybe like a 5-minute just fucking chaos fest versus Braun would be fucking great.
Yeah, I feel like that would be better for Goldberg's style. The problem is, I mean, they set up the Gunther match. So do you tease the Gunther match and then do the Braun match? I mean, that would be better. I just don't see them doing what they did on Saturday and then going forward with another opponent for Goldberg instead. I guess they could. I don't know. I feel like they would do Gunther and Goldberg. I think we probably will get that match. Ideally, you tease the match, but you do Braun and Gunther instead, like you said. I feel like that's the way to go. I hope they do that. Don't put the belt on Goldberg. Do not have him wrestle more than one match. I guess you could do 2 matches, but it's like, what's the point at that point? If he's going to lose both matches, then, and he should, like, then, I don't know, who cares? Unless he beats, like, fucking Akira Tozawa on Raw or some shit, just to give him a win, it doesn't even matter at this point. We are so beyond needing Goldberg on this show, but if they really want to make good with him, and even then I'm sure you'll find a way to complain, oh, I wanted to win, or I think I should go over in my last match. Like, just shut the fuck up, dude. And I like Goldberg, too, but don't need to see him back in the ring for any more matches beyond a potential Gunther squash, or Braun Breaker just murdering him, or having a fucking spear fest for 5 minutes. I'd be fine with that. Personally, in my book, I feel like that'd be totally fine. Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns against the Bloodline in the main event. Match itself was good. The epic entrances beforehand I thought were really well done to kind of give this a big fight feel, given the respected ties to the Georgia-Atlanta area, obviously. Jimmy Uso came out. I heard a siren in the distance from your neck of the woods when Jimmy came out, more so than when The Rock came out. We all kind of figured The Rock might return, but Jimmy Uso coming out, honestly, was not expecting it. Came out with the hoodie, laying out the tongues at ringside, helping Cody and Roman go over after Roman pinned Solo with the spear. And Jimmy and Roman reuniting before The Rock comes out to taunt Cody, Roman, and Jimmy in the ring. Is he aligned with Solo? Is he coming after Cody? Was he targeting Roman? We don't know. We'll find out soon, I'm sure. But this was all complete chaos, and I thought it was really well done. So, your 2 cents, Mr. Marceau.
I went nuts. Great match. I honestly didn't even know it was Jimmy at first. I was like, could it be Rikishi? Could be someone else. So I saw the hoodie and the bandana. I mean, concealed identity. Wasn't really sure who it was, and Jimmy took it off, went nuts. No idea it was going to be him. Mm-hmm. Great execution. took out the Tongans. Roman and Cody win. Rock comes back. I thought it was a good end of the show. Still stunned it was Jimmy, honestly.
Still shocked it was Jimmy. Far bigger star than anyone else out there at that point. Jimmy Uso is back.
He literally got the biggest pop for me when he came out.
Yeah. Didn't come out with the song, unfortunately.
Once he identified who he was, so I said I didn't even know who it was at first.
They hit the song, I would know.
If it was a song, I would know and would have went nuts too. But, I mean, the local police department wouldn't even be able to find out who it was until he took it off. So, Great stuff. Thought it was a good ending of the show. He said, Rock, we don't really know what's going on. He's going after Cody, Roman, Solo. That was a good ending of the show to kind of keep people talking, and it's going to work. And we'll see Rock. I don't think he's advertised for SmackDown, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think Rock shows up on SmackDown tomorrow as we speak right now. Where do we go from here? I mean, I think Cody should be done with the Bloodline. I don't know if he will be done with the Bloodline. I mean, Jimmy Uso's back now. Are they building up the Survivor Series team? Survivor Series now is officially about a month and a half away, late November. We still have Crown Jewel next month. I feel like they're probably going to do Roman and Solo on that show. Do not do Roman and Solo at WrestleMania. No one cares. Roman and Jacob Fatu would make more sense. Do Roman and Solo in fucking Saudi, and you can have Solo go over if you want. I don't know. At this point, it doesn't even matter. But I feel like they might be doing the Bloodline match after all, because at one point I was thinking maybe they'll do Roman, Cody, Orton, and Owens. But clearly they're not going in that direction based off Owens' actions after the show went off the air, which we'll discuss in a moment. But where do you think this goes? Do we get the Bloodline Civil War match at Survivor Series after all, or do they hold off on that?
I think we get the Bloodline cage matchup at Survivor Series.
Do you think Jey Uso gets involved too? He should.
I mean, they need more people, so I think it makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. Roman, Jay, Jimmy, obviously. Do they recruit Cody, or do they bring in... I mean, I guess Sammy's another option. Sammy is now currently free, having lost to Gunther on Raw, so he's another option too.
I would say do Roman, Sammy, Jimmy, and Jay.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. So The Rock comes out. Obviously, I don't think he'll be a part of the show for a while. I was surprised to see him. I mean, he was rumored, but I wasn't 100% completely sure he'd be there just because it's fucking Bad Blood. And, he's not often on the B shows, but he was there. The current rumor is that they might be doing The Rock, Roman, and Cody Rhodes in a triple threat at WrestleMania. Yay or nay on that? For me, it's a nay, but I'm curious what your take on that is. And it would probably be, by the way, for the championship.
For me, it's a nay.
I'm assuming that's a yay then from you?
Honestly, I feel like my bigger question is what would main event the first night then? Because that would be second night, obviously. Not that I don't love it, but I just like Cody and Roman. I feel like Cody and Roman, it's a different match, but it's still kind of them again. It's kind of like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It's giving me Brock and Roman vibes. I mean, I know, like you said, you're adding Rock in, so it's totally different.
They should save Rock and Roman for their first singles match. I wouldn't give that away in a fucking triple threat. I mean, myself.
Yeah, I mean...
Is that so Rock doesn't have to do the job? That's so dumb.
I don't know. I don't know if I like that. I mean, I'm not going to be a poo-pooing it like you, but...
I'm poo-pooing it, yeah.
Like I said, I think my biggest problem with it, I think I'd rather just do a Cody and Rock one-on-one.
That's what it should be.
I feel like I don't want Roman in it because it's him and Cody again. You're adding in Rock, but it'd be 3 years in a row that the main event of WrestleMania have Rock and Cody and Roman in again. I mean, I just also feel like if you have Roman in the WrestleMania, what else you can do? He's not going to face Solo or anyone. And like I said, I don't need to see him and Cody again for fucking God's sake. No, thank you.
It could be It could be Roman and Jacob. That is a possibility.
Yeah, I think Roman and Jacob would be good.
That's a Mania-worthy match to me.
There you go. That's fine. I want Roman and Jacob and Cody and Rock.
Okay. So no triple... You are also poo-pooing it, but not as much as I am.
I'm not, crying about it, but I don't love it.
Yeah, no, I fucking hate it. I think it's stupid. I just feel like you said, Cody and Roman again, no thanks. They've been building towards Cody and Rock, so why the fuck would you throw in Roman Reigns? Obviously, they can build in animosity between him and Rock between now and Mania, but I mean, honestly,
I guess how do you set it up that it's a triple threat? Like, are we getting like Raw and Rumble? They both eliminate each other at the same time. Like, how the fuck are we getting that?
I mean, whoever wins the Rumble would probably go after Gunther. I don't know who Gunther faces, so they would probably go after him. I don't know if that'd be Punk or someone else. I'm not sure. I mean, I think Punk will face Rollins, and so I don't know. I don't even know who Gunther faces if he's still champion by them, and he should be, I think. I don't really know how you set. If it's a triple threat, I don't know how you would set that up. I just think, honestly, in a perfect world, I feel like what they should do, what we just said with Cody and Rock, and then Roman and Jacob, to me is probably perfect. You need to do Cody and Rock at some point. They've teased it enough times. They fucking flat out said that on the Raw after WrestleMania this year. You have to do the match. In a perfect world, I would do Cody and Rock at the Rumble, and then do Roman and Rock at Mania. Could you stretch it out another Mania to do Rock and Roman next year? Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, that just seems like a really long time, and I've said that before. You could go back fucking 5 years, and I've said that about like, oh, if you stretch out Roman's run another year, that seems like a long time, no thanks, and then they did it anyway. So, I mean, they could, but Rock isn't really even around, like, I don't know. Do you think that's feasible if they were to do Cody and Rock ahead of time and Roman and Rock at Mania? Or do you think that they should save Roman and Rock for another year at WrestleMania?
Did they announce where WrestleMania is next year or no?
I don't think so. They've announced so many locations, I forgot. I don't think they did.
I know they did SummerSlam, so now I'm like thinking out loud.
Yeah, I forgot.
I mean, like I said, I think I'm fine with Cody. I'm trying to think, because like I feel like I know what you're saying, and I feel like I don't know. I just feel like I guess it really depends on when we do a Rock, but I feel like him coming in, I feel like it's gonna be him and Cody, but like him and Roman, like how much longer can you really drag that out for? And it's like if you do Cody and Rock this year, and then Roman and Rock the year after, I don't really love that. I am more down for Cody and Roman, or Cody and Rock and Roman and Jacob this year, and then doing it. Yeah, I mean, I'd rather that than the triple threat, so I guess I'd rather do that. But, I mean, doing another year of Roman than Rock, I don't know.
That's just a long time. Wait. I don't know. At that point, I don't know. They've dragged the Bloodline stuff on for long enough, but that's just a long fucking time to build towards Roman and Rock. Like, just get it over with. I mean, I feel like if they weren't going to do it last year, which I'm glad they didn't, and I was a Cody crybaby and we got what we wanted, if we didn't get it last year, great. Then do it this year. To not do it this coming year, it's like...
Yeah, but then what do you do with Cody? That's the problem, I think, at least.
This coming year?
Yeah.
In my opinion, yeah, I feel like you could do him and Randy Orton. I feel like that's a Mania-worthy match.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't hate that either. Like, maybe you could just do... I mean, I don't hate it, but it's like, then where do you go Rock? Like, do you do Cody Rock at the Rumble and Roman costs the Rock the win, and that's how you get them to Mania?
Yeah, I could see that.
And then you could, honestly, I don't hate the idea, because then you could do night one, could be Roman Rock, no title. Head of the fucking tribal chief, I don't know. You could do some stupidness. Like, yeah. I think you do that, and then you do Roman, and then second night's Cody and Orton. I don't hate that.
Yeah, I could totally see it.
It's not going to happen, but I don't hate it.
Yeah, the women would get shafted again, but if you don't have a big enough match...
There's not going to be a match worthy of that. Even like, okay, we think it's probably going to be Tiffany and Charlotte. No.
Yeah, probably not.
And then, I don't know, fucking Rhea and insert next person or Liv. I don't know. I don't think there's a women match big enough to headline one of the nights, and I'm fine with if it doesn't seem like it fits, then it shouldn't happen. Like,
I agree.
It shouldn't just be because the women are women. Like,
no, I understand. I would say, to be fair, I feel like the biggest match they could probably do, I think there's two big matches they could probably do that would be worthy, in my mind, of headlining Mania. It would be Bianca and Jade, but at Mania this coming year it would not, because I don't think the title will be on the line. I don't think they'll do that in the main event. And then two would probably be Bianca and Charlotte. We have yet to see that at WrestleMania, and I don't think we get that this year either. So maybe the following year, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what, honestly, women's matches we're going to get. Specifically on the Raw side, if we still get this fucking Pure Fusion Collective garbage until April, oh my God, I don't know what you're going to do with the women at WrestleMania. It's... that match on... Let's talk about this real quick. On Raw this week, dude...
Garbage? What are you talking about? This is great shit, pal.
Oh my God, that 10-woman tag was fine, but it was the epitome of 10-woman divas tag from like the 2012 Raw era when we used to get 2-hour Raws. Like, get all the women on the Showtime match and just get it over with. The best part is that, and I like them, but you could have had either Alba Fire or Isla Dawn get pinned. The unholy union. At this point, who even gives a shit? They could just take a pin. Who cares?
Whoa! I give a shit. That's
well, I mean, I know you give more of a shit about them than Pure Fusion Collective. My point is,
Isla Dawn could have taken the pin and I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah, so you could have done that. They had Sonya Deville, the leader of this Pure Fusion Collective garbage, get pinned in that match. What the fuck? Like, at this point, why should we care about that group? Oh my god, it was just like, are you fucking kidding me right now? That was easily the biggest waste of time on the show this past Monday. And that was the only women's segment on the show, so I feel bad saying that, but it was such a waste of time. Like, give us actual stories with the women. It's not that fucking hard.
It did. Liv showed up for 5 minutes and left.
Well, another story beyond that one. They shouldn't have one story.
I didn't love it. I didn't hate it because Lyra won. She got the win.
Yes, I was happy about that.
Lyra.
Yeah.
So I like that, but like you said, I mean, the whole, I will say, like, I feel like if they did nothing and then everyone would have, like, cried. So, like, I like the attempt to at least do something. But I feel like the show was kind of like, they kind of, like, booked the show out with the other big matches. Like, I think you said it better that there should have been something. Like, the Liv, at least, like, what they did with the Liv was kind of dumb, if you ask me. Like, it was literally a 45-second fucking VTR and they left. I mean, there really isn't anything else that, like, would warrant, like, even a match. Like I said, the Pure Fusion Collection stuff I'm kind of out on. The whole just get them all out there, I wouldn't say that was the greatest thing ever. But, like, besides that, they really don't have anything on Raw that's built up.
They don't.
So that's kind of what they got. But, yeah, they need to do a better job. I think they'll do a better job. Like I said, I think it was more the fact that, like, they already had, like, the Donnybrook thing. That was already booked. Jay and Xavier. I was going to say Walter. Holy fuck. Gunther and Sammy was like, that stuff was already booked. So it's like, I get that they didn't, with the 2 hours, they didn't have a ton of time, but I think they'll be better. I think people are, like, freaking the fuck out, just calm down. I think in future weeks we'll get better stuff, but, like, they also have to, like, build more women on their own because, like I said, we've been getting this Pure Fusion stuff that clearly isn't working.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I would pump the brakes on everyone like freaking out, but they do need to do a better job.
I think they need to keep the belt on Liv. Like, I was thinking, and I still think Rhea will get the belt back. I thought it might happen to Bad Blood, but then Liv retained. I think I picked Liv last week, but I was thinking like a month ago, oh yeah, I'm sure Rhea will get the belt back by then, and she didn't. And honestly, it's probably for the better. Because if you have that belt on a top babyface right now, who the fuck do you have for Rhea to defend against? Beyond Liv, again. Raquel, we've seen a million times. They could do that now with the roles reversed. Okay, but yeah, like you said, no one. Sonya Deville? Oh my god, no. Like, no thanks.
Yeah, but like, besides Rhea, who does Liv face? Like,
correct.
Lyra, I guess, like, they didn't realize, like, she won on Raw, so I guess it's building her up a little bit. But
yeah, I don't know,
that's another thing. It's like they don't really have anyone else built up.
They have a lot of women, and a lot of those women, almost every single one of those women in that 10-woman tag do not mean anything.
I completely agree. I think they've done a poor job by pushing.
Terrible.
I also don't think it helps that they're pushing a heel group when the champion's a heel. So it's like, okay, they beat these people. Well, it's like, I like Io. I mean, Io's another person.
Yeah. I forgot
I guess we kind of like glossed over her, but Io, I mean, Kyrie. I mean, I think they have a couple other women. I guess they weren't on the show, so we kind of glossed right over them. But, I mean, they do have some women, but they do need, like I said, they do need to do a better job, which I think they will. I think this week they kind of had, like I said, I think a lot of things to advertise up front. They want to make sure they got it ample amount of time, especially with the 2 hours. But I think they'll hear the cries on Twitter and they'll figure it out. But I just, like you said, I think it also helps they don't really have a ton of over women to begin with on Raw. Mm-hmm. SmackDown kind of has they just have a pile of riches there. So we'll see. But I mean, I think it'll be fixed. I wouldn't go too crazy on it.
Yeah, it's been 1 week, and I think the Io Sky thing is a great point. That even further, to me, establishes the idea that Liv should be champion for a while. Because at least that way you can get Liv and Lyra, maybe, which they teased months ago, and they never did anything with. I remember she slapped Lyra backstage, and they never followed up on that. That was right after Becky left. And then you can also do Liv and Io at some point too, which I feel like would be fine. So Just an idea, something to do. But yeah, what was your, as far as not just the women are concerned, but the first 2-hour Raw in 12 years? I actually liked the show. Jimmy Uso, or Jay Uso rather, I'm going to get the Usos, mixed up now. Jay Uso and Xavier Woods had a very quick match. I mean, that was way too fucking short. The commercial break ate up the entire thing, and then they came back and ended the match. So that was kind of disappointing. But I thought Sheamus and Pete Dunne had a great match. I like that Punk and Rollins got to further their respective storylines with promos, tease their future matchup. The main event was very good, kind of hindered by commercial breaks, but Gunther and Sammy, from what we got to see for the World Heavyweight title, was really good. I really liked the show. So what was your take on the first 2-hour Raw in over a decade?
I thought it was a solid show. I think a lot of people thought the same. Like you said, I think a lot of people got caught up in the whole women controversy of them not getting a lot of time, which I completely agree. I think, like I said, future weeks, if it continues on, I'll be the first one complaining about it. But I think, like I said, they had a lot of advertised stuff. But I thought what they advertised was good. Obviously, with the commercials, it did kind of hinder some of the stuff. But honestly, at the end of the show, I felt like my DVR didn't tape everything because it was only 2 hours. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I remember that it was only 2 hours. So I thought it went by fast. Like you said, I think with the commercials, it kind of can ruin some of the flows and stuff. Like you said, the whole Jey Uso Xavier match was pretty much through commercial. We didn't get a ton, but I mean, like I said, it's something they have to work on. But when you have a 3-hour show going into 2 hours, obviously it eats stuff up. I think they're obviously way less filler than we usually get besides the 10 women match, which was great. Like, I don't need a ton of filler in my show. So I think it's something to work on. Like you said, you're moving a roster of 3 hours. Now you kind of have to prioritize it too, which I think they did, and think we got a lot of filler. So that's definitely a positive. And I mean, we watched SmackDown. I think SmackDown's pretty good, and Raw has a bigger roster, obviously, for 3 hours. So I think Triple H will have his hands full, but I trust that they'll do the right thing.
Yeah, I think they just got to find their footing, see what works with the 2 hours. They're going to have to deal with this for the next 2.5 months, and I think they'll be back to 3 hours, close to 3 hours on Netflix in 3 months from now. So it's only temporary, unfortunately. I think the 2-hour Raws are so much better. It feels like it moves quicker. I mean, I do want longer matches, like Jay and Xavier being cut short was a bummer, but, I like the longer matches, but SmackDown follows the exact same formula. The only difference is what you mentioned, is that Raw has a bigger roster, so not everyone's going to be on the show every week, but honestly, if we don't get Pure Fusion Collective on the show every week, I will not complain. So you can kind of do a better job of cycling people in and out and figuring out to make 2 hours work, because 2 hours is fucking far more bearable than 3 hours, especially when they have all the recaps and the bullshit, and that stuff hasn't really gone away. So they could do a better job of that for sure. But I thought for the first week it was good. Last thing here for you, Mr. Marceau, NXT on the CW week 2, if you caught it, was, I thought, a lot better than week 1. Much better energy. They were in, I say St. Louis. I don't know if they were there exactly. They were supposed to be there, but they had to move arenas because they couldn't sell tickets for shit in that original NBA arena or whatever. But they moved to a much smaller venue, and it came across great. It was called The Factory, I believe, not to be mistaken with the AEW faction, a terrible group from years ago, led by QT Marshall, rather. But the overall show was good. They had Jey Uso make an appearance, which was random, but the crowd was into it. The 6-woman tag was fine. I don't really care. I think I care marginally more about the Fatal Influence than I do the Pure Fusion Collective.
I saw your tears on that on Twitter, too. I was like, this kid just loves complaining, man.
I guess I just hate women's factions.
I feel like your new gimmick is just complaining on Twitter about everything.
Yeah, I mean, more so the complaining about women's factions.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I guess if there's a women's faction to complain about, I'll complain about it. But yeah, Fatal Influence, I just can't bring myself to care. But I did think the women's segment on the show, Julia, Stephanie Vakir showing up, they're fucking stars. Laying out Roxanne and Cora, great stuff. Tony D'Angelo, new NXT North American champion. The tag team title match was also a lot of fun. Sexy Red, get her the fuck off my television screen. And then Orton and Evans had a Randy Orton and Javon Evans had a fun main event. Botched finish aside. That was pretty embarrassing. But, they made up for it. Orton was a veteran. He thankfully didn't pin him after that and beat him. That would have been pretty fucking stupid. But he made up for it, and the match was fun. So, your thoughts on the overall show, if you caught it, and any highlights from the episode?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. At least I think it was better than last week's show. I was actually stunned Femi lost. I mean, I guess at that point, if D'Angelo lost again, what do you really do with him? So yeah. It made sense, I guess. But, no, that was a solid show. Like you said, with Julia coming out with Stephanie Vakir laying out Roxanne and Cora was good. you said, I'm trying to think what else you said. Thanks to the 6 women, whatever. I don't have an issue with them, guys. Just blame Graham. He hates every women's faction, I guess.
I guess so, yeah.
But now I know. So now I know the way to press his buttons a little bit more. But thought that was fine. Like I said, not the greatest thing of all time, but I thought it was fine. Overall, I thought it was a solid show. And I liked the arena. I feel like they went to a small arena. It felt like more like older NXT, but I don't know. It's when you have a smaller crowd, I feel like in the shot correctly, it looks better. So I didn't mind the venue change. Like I said, I guess they couldn't sell tickets, but I thought it was a good little show.
It worked out for the better. I mean, I saw some people making this comparison, and I love this comparison because we were there. But that venue on TV reminded me of the Lowell Memorial Auditorium, where we saw a bunch of NXT shows, house shows. They never did a takeover there, but they did a bunch of house shows. And I mean, NXT at its peak, obviously, and even now I think they still do bigger arenas for the takeovers, and they don't call them takeovers, but I think they still do the bigger arenas for those shows. I know they did over Mania when I've been, but like Heat Wave and shit, I'm pretty sure they do. Honestly, if they could sell the tickets, they're going to do that, but now that it's like NXT's not as hot as it once was, doing the smaller venues, I think it just sounds better. And honestly, not to make this a company thing, but I think AEW would benefit from doing something similar. You're going to get people saying, oh, they can only sell 2,000 tickets. Well, listen, they're doing that fucking anyway. So why not take advantage of that and do it in a smaller venue where it sounds a lot better? I just feel like that would make more sense, because when they run these fucking 10,000 people arenas like they did on Tuesday night, and it sounds like shit because only 1/5 of the arena is full, it just looks awful.
No, I agree. I think sometimes more, like a little less is better. I mean, it's shot better. It's tight. It looks like when you can tighten it up and it looks like it's tight, it looks better. Like when you're shooting a big building and you're shooting it tight, you can tell like there's clearly nobody there. Like, I think that's something they can work on, and I think this show kind of proved that. Like, not every show has to be in a big arena. I think if it's shot correctly in a small arena, it comes out better because like there's less people there, but you can feel that there's less people there, and it's just like it's more engaging. And I think they could, like you said, I think they could learn something on next. They felt the show was shot good, and it felt like very animated, and it felt like the crowd was into it because it just was shot differently. Yeah, it was a more intimate atmosphere, and it came across great. So they're going to be back at not Full Sail, but the NXT Arena, the Performance Center, starting next week. I know they were obviously, I don't know about that area specifically, Florida getting ravaged by the hurricane right now, so they probably worked out best they were on the road this past week, and they didn't do that for that reason. It just worked out that way. People telling me, oh, they got to get on the road like all the time. Like, no, I don't think these crowds, the past 2 shows they've done on the road were good, but these crowds will not give a fuck when they are booking, and it's a developmental show, so they're going to have to, when they're booking, Brynlee Reese versus fucking... Who? Exactly, like the developmental. It's a female, I assume. That's my gimmick now. I just hate women in general, I suppose. No, well, the name Brynlee, I don't know any males running around named Brynlee. No, it's a female on the show. Yeah. Told you. Well, you hate the women anyway. Yeah, it's a women's thing, I guess. Let me rephrase so it doesn't sound like I hate women. I hope Alexa's listening to this because she complains on me all the time. I'm the one that's the advocate. Yeah. The biggest hater over here. You're the OG senior diva columnist, so I mean, I don't know. All you do is complain about the women. That's all you did this whole 2 hours of recording with you, complain about the women. Yeah, it's just one thing after another. I got to work on this shit. Do you want to go to AEW and complain about the women, or are you just going to keep it WWE centric? No, AEW is the same issue. Well, yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends what we're talking about here. All right, people. We'll keep it for another time. Then. We'll save that for another time. It's just a WWE hatred women focus centered episode here today. I'll refocus my efforts next week towards the AEW Women's Division. But I'm probably just biased against WWE for whatever reason. And I clearly have some internal issues I got to focus on, so I'm going to go work on that. Mr. Marceau, brother, have a great week. I'll catch you next Thursday, pal. See you later, man.
Join Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau every Thursday as they run down their weekly wrestling rants, offer expert analysis, host exclusive interviews, and more. Subscribe today on all your favorite podcast platforms and never miss an episode of WrestleRant Radio.